Hi, good morning. I'm doing this. It's not really Florida LitCon video, but I would always like to mention my Florida LitCon because it is culminating. It's June 15th on South Beach. Just got the go ahead to screen movies, so we'll be screening movies probably till late night, probably till 10 o'clock. So we're going to have some late night horror movie screening up there at LitCon. So that's good that we have, because I got my movie I'm going to be screening, The Death Pledge. Anyway, today's topic is self-destruction. Nah, that's the video. Today's topic, just kind of saying something that I felt like I didn't really get into and expanding on it, but really is why books are leading the movement. I was talking about, why LitCon is so focused on literature, right? And really, it's not just because it's books and because I'm a writer, or because I think there's a void in comic book conventions when it comes to books. But also, one of the panels that we're having is, I'm going to forget the name, so I'm just going to give you the subject, about why there are no blacks in science fiction, or where are the blacks in science fiction. It's something along on that lane. And it's always these panels that we have talking about the future of black sci-fi, the importance of black sci-fi, diversity in science fiction. I mean, shout out to Jarvis from the Black Science Fiction Society, but he got one of the big cons, Dragon Con, to create a whole track focused on diversity. And I was there last year for his inaugural year. I'll actually be there again this year. But they had a whole bunch of panels on diversity in science fiction. And I think that's important. Now, if that is important, then I feel what I was talking about on my last blog about writing and how I feel when I write. And mind you, I'm currently writing a screenplay. Well, I just finished writing a screenplay this weekend, but it happened on chapter 4. I'm on chapter 5 of a book that I'm writing. So I had to interrupt the book to write a screenplay. So I'm writing both of those at the same time, because when you're writing a book, no matter what chapter you're at, you're holding that whole book in your head, right? And I'm up to that point where I have an 8-book series, and I can tell you pretty much what's going to happen on all 8 books. However, what's going to happen on chapter 5 of book 7, I may not know exactly what's going to happen, but I have the whole series in my head, and also on paper, because I try not to remember everything. This blog is as much opinion and writing tips as it is anything else. So I do write down everything. I mean, I have like 3 notebooks and a Bible that I'm created to help me write this post-apocalyptic series, The Harlem Shake. And it's cool, it's fun. It's not hard. I don't even think it was going to be hard, but you might think it's hard. It's not. Okay, so now back to me writing a screenplay, which was a horror, and this post-apocalyptic book series. I noticed one thing. Now, I'm not writing a comic book script, or am I writing a role-playing game scenario, but the role-playing game is very similar to the novel, and a screenplay is very similar to a comic book script, in the sense that you don't have to narrate you don't have to describe things in your narration in a comic book and in a screenplay. You are directing either the illustrators or the actors or the directors in a screenplay. So those are the things that separate it. Also, neither one really you don't have to describe emotions, feelings, thoughts, projections, all of that stuff that you get to describe in a book. You can say it looked like this. You can say with a smirk on their face in your description to your illustrators or to your actors, but you don't really they have to show it, and it's really not the same as telling your audience through actions and other things, because you don't tell either in your books, but you can describe it in a different way. It's really hard maybe I should have just brought an example, but in books you get to do certain things with your characters that you can't necessarily do in your screenplay or comic book script. And because of that, I think there's something that you can do in books for the movement of diversity that you really can't do in film and in comic books. I'm saying that because even as a writer of all of them, and I may like movies the best, there's something about being able to think of anything you want, anything that your mind can describe, because there are things that you can do with pictures in books, comic books, and film that is very hard to describe in books. But you could challenge yourself. I use other books and other writers as references to certainly describe certain things that are hard. But for the most part, that's really it. And because that's it, writing books really presents a different set of obstacles that allow you to be really free. And I say free for another reason. I have editors that maybe, I've used editors up to $1,500, right? I've used editors as little as $200, right? Short stories, novels. So that's my range. The most expensive editor is cheaper than paying a couple of actors for a 2 or 3 day, and 2 or 3 days short, but paying a film crew and actors, right? And then post-production and what else? Distribution, marketing, all of that. It's really hard to make a movie under $10,000. But hell, people have said they can make it under $5,000. You better be able to do everything yourself if you can make it at $5,000. You got to shoot it, you got to edit it. You can't work with nobody else. And in a book, I'm pretty sure you could even leave out the editor if you wanted to. Get one of these advanced Grammarly programs and make sure that your grammar and your spelling is correct and go through it line by line. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could edit your book yourself. But getting an editor, the most expensive editor that will break down each one of your characters, that will analyze your story back and forward, $1,500, bro. That's it. Maybe $2,000 with inflation, right? But that's it. So when it comes to writing a book, and comic books fall somewhere in the middle, because you're looking at a 25-page story. In a book or in a movie, that's really a short film, a short story book and a short film. So for the volume of story, you're looking at maybe 100 pages. Are you kidding me? 100 pages, it could be $10,000. Easy. $5,000 if you're cheap. And that doesn't include printing. So whereas books, sure, you got to pay maybe $6, $5 a book, right? And film, the lucky thing is you can just put it digitally, but it's so easy to duplicate them that now you got to worry about thievery. And books can be stolen, but really only electronic books can be stolen. Now, I'm pretty sure somebody can take a reader and go buy your book and get your first copy, and then they scan the rest of your book and they can put it up on digital. But that's hard. And same thing with comic books. So the piracy factor exists for all of them, but really easy on the film. You know, it's the easiest of all of them. You know, people don't sell bootleg books, but they do share them. You know, they do share the PDF. They'll share the file, so it is there. My books are all pirated. I ain't gonna tell you the sites. I block it out because there's not much I can do about it. Especially a little author like myself. But I know I can advertise it, so I don't think they can advertise my books, because if they do, then they'll get shut down. So they got to stay dark web. Anyway, I just think, you know, books, because of all of those factors, are really what do you call it? Probably the most capable of leading the revolution in terms of black sci-fi and diversity. You don't need anybody in to act in your story. You get white people, you get Asian people, you get anybody who you want to put in there. You cast them all and do whatever you want them to do. So you have the most freedom of your creativity. You don't have to worry about saying, oh, a white person, I can't find a white person that will do this in your screenplay, in your movie. You don't have to worry about that. You know, same thing with comic books. You don't have to worry about it either. But there's so much more freedom. You get the freedom to not have to worry about budget. Same thing with comic books, but it costs a little bit more. You can charge more for comic books. You could charge $20 for a book. You could charge $25, but it better be a hardcover, because people aren't buying that many books, especially, you know, for somebody that they don't know. Now, if you are Stephen King and you're giving them a real new story and it's been reviewed and highly revered, yeah, you can get your $25 for a hardcover. But if not, you better do a small $15 book, you know, and that's sort of high, but people are cool with paying $15. Anyway, I don't think I did much with this blog, but I think that's what the purpose of blogs are for. You just hear somebody talking, and it provides you with, you know, some interaction, some social interaction. I don't know, but I know for me, I try to stay on subject and try to say something different. So I hope you got something from this. It's really just about why I think books are leading the revolution of diversity and stuff. So anyway, thank you very much. Florida LitCon, June 15th. Holla at your boy. All right, peace.